In this episode, we dig into some Peruvian cuisine and slip in the mud. My wife and I are on a motorcycle trip through Mexico, Central, and South America exploring culture and food. So bring an appetite for adventure because we're hungry riders. So we crossed over the border into Peru, crossing the river, and there's definitely a drastic landscape change as soon as you cross over. You go from these high peak mountain Andes and it starts turning into just dry desert.
Yeah, just sand, desert, like white sand desert.
The kind of shacks on both sides which is a bit different. We haven't seen that for quite a while. It's a little rougher than we'd seen in previous countries for quite a bit.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that I noticed was just all the garbage that was everywhere, just right alongside the freeway.
And blowing over the road. But the good news, there's free tolls, so we're going to be able to make use of that while we're in Peru. And yeah, we headed on and we made it towards Pura for the first night. So Pura is one of those larger cities. We went to the main kind of downtown area once again, and which means it's very difficult to find parking. We thought we were going to have to end up parking in a garage, and we found a hotel that was a good price, until we realized we might be able to fit in basically one of their hallways.
So we kind of rearranged some furniture that they had in there when we made our way into the hallways, and they fit.
Yeah, we could look down on our bikes from
our
above.
room.
Yeah, from our room.
Yeah.
That works.
And so then we headed out on the town that evening for some dinner, and we heard that goat is a specialty, so we tried to find some.
And we had some goat stew.
Yeah.
And it was tasty, and I could really tell a difference between the cuisine from Ecuador. People seem to take a lot more care, there's little garnishes and things like that when they serve it, and there's a lot more spices used, which we hadn't really had for a while. And so here we got some punch to it, and that was nice. Nice change.
So then we left Pura and we headed down the coast a little ways. We were going to aim for a little town called Cajamarca, which was about 250 miles away, which would normally be easy.
Yeah, it's up in the mountains. It's kind of like an out-of-the-way loop, but it's still the main road to get there.
Right, and it started out easy. It was fine, especially the coast road.
Yeah, that's the way you can typically get through Peru. It's the fastest way.
It's the Pan American Highway.
And we don't want to stay in that the whole time. We actually wanted to see part of the mountains.
Right.
But we went on there a little ways, and that's how most of the country would be. Just flat, straight, hot desert, sand dunes blowing along.
And then we turned inland towards the mountains, and that's when it got really interesting. The landscape started getting mountainous, twisty, still really gorgeous landscapes.
You're following a river up, kind of like a canyon that gets deeper until you're up in the mountains. And it was great. It started out a lot quicker, then it started getting slower, just really twisty type of turns, which we love. That's great. But then there's all this construction and dirt.
Yeah,
and,
there's a lot.
Traffic.
There started being a lot of dirt roads. Again, this is the main road, but because they're doing so much construction on it, there's just a lot of slows, dirt roads, and then it started getting darker. And
yeah, and we were still enjoying it, but we're not making quite as much time as I thought we would originally. So, not sure we're gonna make it. Yeah, it just keeps getting darker. The road keeps getting worse, and then it starts raining on top of that.
So then the dirt roads turned into mud roads.
We're ready to stop the next time we see a place, but it still keeps getting darker, starts raining even harder, and then we come across a type of terrain that I have never experienced before.
Yeah, this mud that we were on, we didn't even realize it until we had fallen on it, because it's this really hard-packed mud, which is fine if you're going straight, but the second you even touch the brakes, you just slip and fall because it's almost like potter's clay. It's really thick packed mud, but there's a sheen of water on top, so it's just ice.
It's just pure ice, and there's nothing to do. And fortunately, we weren't able to film any of this because it was night and it was raining and muddy, and we wanted to get somewhere. And just picking up the bikes in that, it was super difficult. The bike's just sliding across the side of the road, getting no traction.
To lift. Yeah.
You just got to ride with both feet down. And so we got that accounted for. I kind of slipped and fell about 3 times on our way.
I only fell the once. That's because his bike was heavier.
And we were just ready to stop, and we came to the first town we could. We saw a sign that said hotel, and we just had to stop for the night. We did not make it, and it was only
didn't matter what kind of hotel it was.
180 miles, I think, that we made it that day.
Right.
So we woke up the next morning in this little town called Lahas. It was a nice little town. We saw a telephone pole with the word hotel painted on it.
Yeah, but none of the buildings around it specified which building was the hotel, so we kind of had to ask around that night before to figure out which one it was.
People were super friendly. They're happy to see us. It's one of those kind of situations where travelers really don't pass through there normally, so they think it's really cool when someone does. So we had breakfast right next to our bikes where they're parked inside of a tienda, and they had papa rellenos, which is kind of a fried potato that's kind of like mashed potato with some stuffing inside of it, really tasty, along with some ceviche. And we're in the mountains, and I wouldn't expect to eat fish there.
Yeah, ceviche was a really popular breakfast food.
Yeah, no matter where you were, but everyone's eating it. There's all these construction workers that are there that are the guys working on the roads that we've been passing the entire other day.
Yeah, and the other interesting breakfast food was a drink made from quinoa.
And this is one of those things that, like, I've never tasted anything like it. It's really cool to travel and find something like this. It's one of the best things I think I've tasted on the trip.
Yeah.
It's super delicious. It's a warm drink with quinoa, which is a hearty kind of protein, heavy grain. But it's got these different fruit flavors in it, like
cloves.
Yes, spices, and they kind of thicken it a bit with cornstarch.
So it's real hearty.
Yeah, it's a delicious way to wake up.
I'm definitely gonna try to figure out how to make that once we get back home.
And we're actually going to show the recipe on at hungerriders.com if you're interested in learning how to make it. And we got the actual recipe from the lady that was making it from the tienda.
Yeah, and she makes it from scratch herself too.
So, given some of the little accidents that I had the night before, I also needed to do some repairs to my bike once again.
We both did. We had to find the welder in the first place, and this whole town is like super muddy.
Yeah, this is exactly what we were riding in the night before. Just this thick mud that you...
Yeah, this wasn't the ice mud, this is just normal mud, which we are also riding.
But yeah, we were riding around trying to find a welding shop to open up. We finally did. You know, we had a little audience of people watching us get our bikes fixed. The bike's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with the bikes. It's just the luggage rack part that likes to get bent and broken.
The part that takes all the weight when the bike falls over.
Yeah, and so it's not a big deal. You know, it costs like $3 or something to fix every time.
Yeah.
I had to fix the luggage rack mine, and then you broke the rear rack bolts that hold your top box on.
Yeah, so we got that fixed at the same place. We left Lahas, and again, the roads were the same as they were the night before.
But it's light out now, so that's good.
that helps, but it's still super muddy. Construction all over the place.
We're riding along, and we were making big elevation changes. You know, it was fine, but finally we got to a section where it was that thick mud again, just like water pouring down the mountain. You know, we brought the camera out just to get some of this on film, and it was riding along the cliffs in this like thick mud, and that's what I'd always pictured for riding through Peru, and we got to actually experience it.
Yeah. And so after we made it through that, we finally hit some pavement.
Oh yeah, we must be getting close to Cajamarca.
Finally, pavement.
And it was nice, perfect pavement for a small section, and then it goes back to gravel. And like it's relatively fast gravel, but it's still gravel. Big semis going by, and we went up to 14,000 feet.
Yeah, so super cold.
Yeah, so you're wet and cold, and you know.
We had to pull over a couple times so I could warm up my hands.
Yeah, it was quite the experience getting through there.
It was cold.
And we finally made it. It was basically getting dark as soon as we got to Cajamarca.
Yeah.
It took us the whole day to go 70 miles.
70 miles, yeah, whole day.
So in Cajamarca, we were ready for a little bit of a break. We've been riding nonstop for a while, just trying to get, you know...
Hard riding.
Yeah. And so we stopped for a day, rested up, did some laundry. We had a meal of rabbit at one of the restaurants there. And we tried some, it's this weird kind of melon fruit. I'm sorry I didn't get the name of it in Spanish, but it was
pretty
different.
It was a melon.
Yeah, very watery, but it was good.
And that's it for this episode. On our next episode, we visit some ancient adobe ruins and head back into the Andes on our way to Machu Picchu.
But until then, you can follow us on Facebook also, and please like us on there to get more up-to-date information on our trip.
That's right, facebook.com/hungryriders, where you can find that. And of course, our website is hungryriders.com. See you next time.
Look at you. Oh.